have you seen this video, Rumpus, by Right the Hand? It's where he inflates a tyre.
Where is this going to be? Can I see this on Skype, or do I have to look at the?
Yeah, if you want to watch the watch page, I can play it now so that people can listen to it. And if you want to, it's running about 30 seconds behind, so we'll give you a bit of time to actually watch it on the watch page. Are you ready?
Okay.
Okay.
What up, right down here? We're going to be talking about air pressure and how there is not 14.5 pounds of air pressure at sea level. We can prove this with a simple experiment.
Actually, I've been listening to what he's saying as well.
To 6 psi.
Yeah.
Now, look at how inflated this inner tube is at a measured 6 psi of air pressure. Now, this inner tube, I removed the Schrader valve on the valve stem, allowing the 14.7 air pressure access to the inside of the tube. And guess what happened? Nothing. It did not inflate. How come the 6 pounds of pressure is inflating that inner tube more than the 14.7 psi of air pressure? Why is it not filling that space inside? Why is it not filling the vacuum? Why is it not filling the void inside that inner tube? What is going on, people? How come when I push the Schrader valve on the 6 pound, it pushes out? How is 6 pounds of air pressure pushing out past 14 pounds? Because they lied.
Okay, did you get to see that?
Yeah.
So I've got an image on screen right now. So
on Skype or?
It'll come through.
On the watch page.
It'll come through on the watch page in a second. Well, essentially, it's just the tyres in two different states. One where we've got a deflated tyre, and one where we've got a tyre with 6 psi in it. So the question is, when you remove the valve, why does the pressure inside go out if it's only 6 psi inside the tyre?
Well, it's 6 psi plus atmospheric pressure.
Plus atmospheric pressure?
Yes. I
What
cannot
do you mean
believe
by
you're
that?
asking this question.
What do you mean by that?
When we talk about the pressure inside a tube, as in the sort of thing you would find at a garage, the pressure they put on there, that is the pressure above atmospheric pressure. 0 on the gauge in a garage is atmospheric pressure. What they stick above that is what they show on the gauge. How can you not know this?
So
God.
So I'm just asking a question. So
Jesus Christ.
So what's the difference then? If this is 6 psi inside inside this tyre,
well, the
what's
absolute
the
pressure in there is not. It's 14 points, nearly 20 over 20.
Yeah,
the absolute pressure is over 20 inside the tyre when you pumped it up. If it's 6 psi, if the little gauge shows 6 psi, then it's plus atmospheric pressure in absolute terms inside the tyre of 20 point something.
So what's the difference between the atmospheric pressure on the outside and the pressure inside the tyre?
6 psi.
6 psi. Right.
No, Rumpus, are you sure?
Absolutely 100% positive. And anybody who has a problem with this is an absolute effing idiot.
No, well, look.
You are like, but you would be Spurs.
The tyre on the left,
Christ.
Rumpus, you're saying has 14.7 already, and you add 6, so you add the 14 to the 6.
Yes, when you pump it up to 6 psi, it now has 6 psi excess inside the tyre over and above the outside.
So just who would be the moron, Rumpus?
Well, usually that you and Spurs fill that role, so I mean...
Yeah, but the person that thinks what would be the moron?
Anybody who thinks that the 6 psi in the tyre, instead of 20 psi in the tyre in absolute terms, is a moron. And anybody who doesn't understand the gauge that you see in the garage, or on this gauge they've got here, it's not relative to atmospheric pressure, is a moron.
Okay, I've got a new image on screen. Do you want to have a take a look at this, Rumpus?
Again, on Skype or on the watch page?
It's on Skype. So sorry, the watch page. The watch page. So I've got I've got an image up. So 14.7 psi at sea level, and we have an unopened can, obviously at sea level. And inside the can, we're going to say that the pressure inside the can is 4.7 psi. So would you be able to tell me what is the difference between the pressure inside the can and the PSI value on the outside?
4.7 psi.
4.7. Right.
4 points.
Yeah, because
And it's
the
it's positive.
4.7 psi referenced inside that tin is plus the 14.7 outside. That 4.7 psi inside this tin is relative to atmospheric pressure.
I think everybody
My God.
understands that it's the value of the atmosphere plus the pressure inside. I think we get that. We all understand that. You've got to be a moron to say anything else, right, Rumpus?
Yeah.
Oh, I disagree. I would say that you would take away.
Yeah, that's because you're a moron.
No, but Rumpus, there would be 4.7 in the can. You'd remove the 10, yes, and you'd be left with just 4.7.
No, the inside the can, let's talk about absolute terms. Inside the can is 4.7 plus 14.7, so what, about 19 psi inside the can. Outside the can in absolute terms is the 14.7 psi, and the can is 4.7 more than the outside and the atmospheric pressure. Very simple.
So is that the globe? Is that the globe explanation then?
That's everybody who's remotely got an IQ above a root vegetable would say that.
We've got a video out. If you want to perhaps look at the screen.
I've got it running. I've just got the sound down, so I can. Yes, I've got it running.
So I'm gonna press play.
But if you want me to, do you want me to listen to it as well?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I'll have to mix. Okay.
If I've got a container, and inside the container we have a pressure of 4.7 psi, and outside the container we have 14.7 psi, then there is a difference of 10 psi. It's 10 psi less in the can than on the outside, and we will.
Just in case you didn't hear that, I'll just play that back again.
What I mean, if I've got a container, and inside the container we have a pressure of 4.7 psi, and outside the container we have 14.7 psi, then there is a difference of 10 psi. It's 10 psi less in the can than on the outside.
Oh, I did.
Most
I got
car
it.
tyres
I got
are
it.
At least 30 psi.
You got that? Okay.
I did.
So would you like to listen to this little bit as well? Just keep your ears in.
But most car tyres are at least 30 psi, which means we've got a difference of over 15 psi between inside a car tyre.
Right, so Rumpus,
and
didn't
the
I
directly
say
outside
to
it.
you,
So
10 psi we take away, and you said, well, anyone who would say this is a moron.
I did.
So is Conspiracy Catz a moron?
No, he isn't. It's
Well,
very
why
difficult.
why would he say something like that then?
Where are we now?
So we're just waiting for Rumpus to consider his response.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that came through. So I said
Spurs.
Spurs.
This is called
Silence.
pregnant pause.
Sorry.
Ask him again. You might have forgot the question.
Yeah. Why would you think that Conspiracy Catz would put a video out saying completely the opposite of what you've just said?
He's mistaken.
Is he a moron?
No, he's not. He's very definitely not a moron. He's a very
Well, you
intelligent
said if
guy.
somebody said the opposite, that would make them an utter moron, right?
Well, perhaps he's having a momentary lapse there. Everybody's entitled to the odd momentary lapse. And no one can be, except for me, can be completely 100% correct. And this is the one occasion, perhaps this year, that Conspiracy Catz has got something wrong.
But you think gravity's a force, though, don't you, Rumpus?
So does Musa, so does Einstein.
No, but Rumpus, hold on,
everyone
because
else.
Rumpus, I said to you about removing the 10, and you said, well, only a moron would say such a thing like this. No one. You said nobody in their right mind would ever say such a thing. This is impossible. Anyone with an ounce of sense knows they would add that 14.7 psi. So how do you explain a teacher who's teaching many students this
Everybody's allowed to make a mistake, except people like me.
Well, okay,
And that's just Conspiracy Catz' mistake for the year.
Well, Ranty, can you
almost everything he says is correct, and okay, he's allowed to be wrong once.
What if he said it twice with a different example?
Well, perhaps it's just a weak spot that he hasn't. I mean, perhaps he just hasn't. You know, it could be having a bad day. If he could be having a bad day, and if I'm sure that 2 nanoseconds after me engaging with him, he would get it right.
So would you
On the
agree with us
surface of
that
the-
Conspiracy Catz A owes an apology and B owes a correction video?
And C, sorry, he should delete his channel if that guy is correct.
Oh, that guy is an absolute moron. The one that he mentions in the thing is an absolute moron. And
Is he a bigger
that guy
moron than
gets it
Conspiracy
completely-
Catz?
He gets it completely wrong in every regard. Conspiracy Catz just got this one sentence wrong.
Okay, well, hang on.
Hold on. The rest of his video is completely correct except for that one sentence.
Right, okay, so let's go to another part of the video. Rumpus, if you could watch the watch page again. Guys, if you give Rumpus about 30 seconds to catch up, so I'm going to play it now.
Than the surface of Earth and space.
Well, yeah, on the surface of the Earth, we have an earth pressure of 14.7 psi, and the vacuum of space is 0, so that's a difference of 14.7. But most car tyres are at least 30 psi, which means we've got a difference of over 15 psi between inside a car tyre and the directly outside it. So, what's the problem? Difference of over 15 psi between inside a car tyre and the directly outside it. So, what's the problem?
There we go. So I believe that's the second time that he said the same thing there in the same video.
Yes, it was the same thing. Yeah, it's okay. That's 2 cents. Yes, I think I do recall now. He did. Yes, what was the first time? He said it for the tyre. Yeah, okay. He said it for the tyre and the. No, what was the first? There was the car tyre one he just mentioned. What was that? I forgot now. What the first one was?
The can.
Can. Okay.
Yeah, the Coke can.
Oh, but he didn't do that. Hold on, the can was in a different video, wasn't it?
No, same video. First he said the tyre, and then he said the can. But we showed you the can first and the tyre second.
Okay, I don't remember the can being in there. Okay.
Play it
Okay.
again, Ranty.
No, it's okay. I got it. We got it. Yeah, okay. So he made two. Okay, he made 2 errors. Obviously, he's having a bad day thinking about pressure at the moment. But
So Rumpus, what should he have said?
he should have said what I said, which is that the difference in the pressure between a tyre, in other words, that you've pumped up to 30 psi in a garage, 30 psi is 30 psi different to atmospheric pressure. Whereas he said he subtracted 14.7 from it, which he shouldn't have done.
Right.
Well, don't you think that the way that Conspiracy Catz is presenting his argument is exactly the same way as Right the Hand did when he had his tyre? I'm going to play it again, actually.
Hold up, right hand here. We're going to air pressure.
But his air pressure when he filled the tyre with 6 psi, and he was asking exactly the same.
At sea level. We can prove
Well,
this
right,
with
that was more
simple
stupid,
experiment.
much more stupid, because he was his misunderstanding was greater, I think, definitely.
What, then being completely wrong?
Well, he was completely wrong. Right, the hand
Catz
was
was though, wasn't
completely
he?
enough.
Catz got it the wrong way round. Twice.
He didn't get it right.
He got it the wrong way round twice.
Okay, well, he's obviously having a bad day. But the point is, you see, 99% of what Catz says is correct. Whereas, for instance, like someone like you, Anthony, only 1% of what you say is correct.
Right, Rumpus,
So
hold
we're
on.
quite happy.
Rumpus,
So
you've got to be
90,
fair.
so we'll go with
Rumpus.
Conspiracy Catz being perfectly
Rumpus,
fine
you've got
and
to be
intelligent.
fair. What Conspiracy Catz did, he gave one example of the tyre, so he didn't make a mistake because that's how he understands it. So he gave another example of what he understands. So there's no mistake. He's saying that the difference.
Yeah, but it's like, he will, within 2 nanoseconds of him thinking about it. I suspect what he hasn't done is thought about it. He just sort of, trying to make a video. Perhaps he's been busy. It's his first video he's made for a few weeks. Perhaps he's been so busy he didn't get a chance to think about it properly. He's just so busy fighting off that idiot who was spouting complete rubbish, and he just didn't bother to engage his brain. So, but 99% of the time he gets things right, whereas someone like Anthony gets things wrong. Right 1% of the time. So.
Well, hold on a minute. So Rumpus, hold on. We've got to be clear here. He's a teacher. Who
Physics
should we?
teacher.
Yeah, but
Teachers
Rumpus.
make
Who
mistakes
should
too.
Rumpus? Who should we believe? Conspiracy Catz.
Conspiracy Catz.
When he says there is you have to remove the 10, okay, the 10 psi, and there is only 4.7 left, or you who says add the psi. So what do? We have two globe earthers with conflicting information, and you're saying he's wrong. He would say you're wrong. Well, what do we do in this situation?
Just some twat, saucy London saying I said 30 psi is absolute in the time. No, I didn't. Oh God, some moron.
Rumpus, what do we do?
Sorry,
Do we listen to you? I'm just saying. What do? We have a teacher who is a well-known YouTuber. Okay, and you're saying he's wrong. Now,
I'm saying he is incorrect indeed. But
Right, so
he on thinking about it, I can assure you that he will only have to spend about 1 second thinking about this, which
Yes.
presumably he just didn't bother. He just had a bit of a blind spot. But he'll think about it for 1 second, and he'll get the right. He'll agree with me.
So Rumpus, should he remove this video at least?
He should correct it. Yes.
He should correct it. He should remove it. He should do something to alter this answer. Yes.
Well, obviously it's up to him, but I would imagine he's always very concerned about his videos
Rumpus,
being
I don't
correct.
think you understand here. This is miseducation, right? Because now who should we believe? Should we take away the 10, or should we do like what you say and add the 14.7?
Well, you should do what I said because I'm right all the time. So
Okay. So this is what we're saying. So we should expect a response from Conspiracy Catz correcting either you or himself.
well, I suspect he'll. This is. He will, on having this brought to this attention, he will go away and hopefully decide. Hopefully decide that he may make a minor correction, but he's wrong. Right, sorry, 99.9% of the time, and this is just.
That's fine. That's fine. He can be right. That's fine. But on this,
No, he is right. No. If he says something, there's a 99.9% chance of being correct. Whereas when you say something, there's a 99.9% chance you're wrong. Saying that answer.
That's not the problem.
Spurs,
Sorry, Hunter. The problem here is that he's correcting a flat earther. Correcting like you are.
Well, no, he was correcting about a different point because the guy he was correcting was making an erroneous point about he was correcting the flat earth who got it completely wrong. But in his example, Catz was talking about something slightly different, and I don't believe he got that correct.
We've had a claim by Maxwell Smart that I'm apparently misrepresenting what Conspiracy Catz said. I don't think so. I think I'll play this little clip again.
And the vacuum of space is 0, so that's a difference of 14.7. But most car tires...
Manty, maybe play the entire thing. Well, not the entire thing, but just so people can get a good chunk.
Let's just listen to this. He says most car tires
30 psi
have a pressure of 30 psi,
got a difference of over 15 psi
which means you've got a difference of 15 psi
between inside a car tire and the
between the inside of the car tire
directly outside it.
and the air directly outside it. Now that's not misrepresenting anything. That's not talking about absolute pressures or nothing. That's him describing the difference between the 15 psi, 14.7 psi on the outside and the 30 psi on the inside. There's nothing misrepresented with that.
Rumpus, do you think that's a misrepresentation, or do you see what Catz is saying as a mistake?
Catz made a mistake.
Okay, thank you. So it's not a misrepresentation. We're just clearly saying that what Conspiracy Catz is saying is incorrect in your view.
99.9% of things he does say are correct, whereas only 1% of the things that you say are correct or Anthony says are correct. He is human. He just didn't obviously engage his brain just for this one moment, and just happened to not think about this problem.
But don't you think that when somebody goes to the trouble like Conspiracy Catz of clipping, editing, spending several hours making a video to put out once a week, that, you know, if he's going to that trouble to script it, make it, check it, refine it, then upload it, that he would have found this glaring error? It wouldn't have just been a off the cuff remark. It's not like he's just doing it on wait a minute. It's not like he's just doing it on a hangout. He's actually put this together.
Well, perhaps when he thought about it, he just was having a bad day. He's human. People, if you're claiming that teachers get everything 100% right, you'd be very, very wrong about this.
We're definitely not claiming that.
The people who, for instance, who mark exams are graded as well, and they quite often get things wrong. So even the people examining and marking the exams that people take get things wrong, even on things that they know they've got the answers. People are human, and they occasionally make mistakes, and very occasionally Catz makes a mistake.